Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Mike's Affordable Scuba 60-second shorts. I'm Mike McCoy, and I made a list of real world safety rules. There are plenty of rules in open water, plenty that you will be told by your instructor and other fellow divers. But I think that these are things that are not pressed hard enough. All right? So again, this is not about helping you pass your open water. This is not about answers on a test. This is just things that I think are very important for everybody to know. First, fully inflate your BCD when you take a giant stride. Okay, so many people get out of their open water course and think that they know better and that I'm cool, I only have to inflate a little bit, but no, you're going to jump in the water and find yourself treading. And if you're a new student, a new diver, you may not think about the fact that you need to hit that inflator. I know it sounds ridiculous, like it's common sense, just inflate and there you go, you're up. But you know, a lot of people in the moment don't think about it. And there's some people that get kind of arrogant about it and they just like give you a little quarter burst, and next thing you know, you're not floating the way you're supposed to. You're in there treading. Why? Because you didn't fully inflate, and you just wanted to be cool and just be like, I got this. Number two, practice becoming buoyant before you hit the bottom. That's a good one. So I've seen a lot of people, certified divers who claim to really know their stuff, will jump in and they'll go all the way down to the bottom, and then when they land on the bottom, they're sitting there on their hands and knees. This is not a PADI exclusive thing, you anti-PADI, anti-knees people. This is not PADI exclusive. People will go all the way down to the bottom and then try to figure out their buoyancy and try to figure out how to get into a neutral hover. So practice. Get in the pool, jump into the pool over and over, and then count. Count how many it takes, bursts of your inflator, to get neutral. That's some really good advice. And then you know, next time you jump off the boat, when you see you're coming down, come down, you see it, and then pss, 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 and then you just land in that hover, because you figured out how many it takes to get neutral. Number three, pay attention to your surroundings. If you are in proper trim, getting a good 360-degree view, it can be difficult to still see things above, below you, and behind you. But constant collisions are a crisis. So let me tell you a quick story. I know this female. And she was diving off one of the cattle boats down in Florida, and all of a sudden this guy landed on top of her and pushed her into the coral. But oh wait, it gets worse. The guy was on his 100th dive, and you know what that means, don't you? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's gross. Yeah, landed right on top of her and pushed her into some fire coral. As far as I know, to this day, she still has scars on her leg because of that collision with the fire coral caused by someone else who couldn't see her below him. Now I know that looking up and behind you is kind of difficult as a diver when you're in good trim. I'm aware. I feel you. But try to keep a good situational awareness. Number four, don't buy vintage dive gear. This is a good one. If you don't know how to properly evaluate gear, it could be dangerous. If you buy a 1989 BCD and it was in a bottom of a box in the garage in Arizona for 32 years, or the same thing with regulators, you don't know what condition that's in. And if you are not experienced enough to truly know what you're looking for, if you haven't been a service tech, if you haven't been diving for long enough that you've seen a lot of bad gear, if you haven't been working in a dive shop, and I am not an elitist on this, but I believe there are plenty of people out there that don't know what dangerous dive gear looks like. And I have had inflator hoses rip right off. I have done an inflation test on the air cell of a BCD, and I just hear as it peels apart the ripping of the internal fabric inside of there, just ripping itself off, creating weak points that will burst under pressure. I have seen inflator heads pop off. I have seen straps ready to rip through the sides, and then people come in and say, "Hey, Mike, tell me about this BCD. What do you think?" Pretty sweet, right? Got it for free from my uncle. Bro, if it is not safe, it's not safe. And if it looks vintage, it probably is not in good shape. If it's faded, if it's ruffled, if it's in bad shape, just don't risk it. But if you feel like you have to risk it anyway, take it to a dive professional and ask them to evaluate it for its safety. Okay? Is that fair? All right. Moving on. Stay with your dive buddy. Yeah, we harp about this one in open water, but let me tell you, you're swimming along. Don't scully. You're swimming along, and all of a sudden your dive buddy sees a turtle over here and stops, pulls up their camera, and starts videoing that turtle. It's good video, but guess what? Then they turn around because you're in a lake, not the ocean. You got 5 feet of visibility, and everybody's gone. Oh my Lord, that sucks. So after a minute, you swim to the surface, but guess what? No one else is swimming to the surface because you're in lake visibility and they don't know you're gone, right? So you look around, and if you're lucky, you see some bubbles, right? If you're not lucky, you just stay on the top. And that sucks to miss out on the rest of your dive. But if you're lucky, you see some bubbles. And then you start heading down on those bubbles, but they're 35 feet deep now. And let me tell you, chasing bubbles at 35 feet, as soon as someone inhales on that regulator, those bubbles, they're going to go away. And you aren't going to see them, and you're going to lose them because you only got a couple feet of visibility. And it ain't easy to see bubbles more than a couple feet away in the lake. So then you're going to descend, and you don't find them where you thought they were. So you go back up. Now they're 10 feet that way. Stay with your dive buddy. Okay? That 1 minute rule doesn't always work because people don't always know you're gone. In lake conditions, ocean conditions, there's just no excuse. Let's see. Number 6, if you're shore diving, get a compass azimuth for shore before you walk in. That means you're on shore, you shoot your compass out into the lake, and then you turn around, you get your reverse azimuth, and one of those is going to be for shore, and that way you can follow it in. There's usually a pretty easy idea that you can follow the slope up, but the truth is, in some lakes, especially man-made lakes, it's not natural. And when it's not natural, you can't follow the curvature because it might not lead anywhere. Okay? Let's see, when you're jumping off the boat, you may want to consider thinking about where your mooring line is, because you're probably on an anchor line, a mooring line, something like that. Maybe keep it in sight, or just, keep a mental, it's this way, it's this way, it's in front of me, it's over here, I'm cutting left, so I need to remember it's back this way. Just keep an eye out, or remember where you are coming from to get back to your boat. Number 7 is bring a DSMB with you and a whistle. So when you're exploring, it's pretty easy to get lost, especially in lake conditions. And I understand, I'm a lake diver. I love the ocean. I go to the ocean as often as I can, but I live in Missouri. And right now, I can't just go to Florida or Hawaii or somewhere tropical like Cozumel, drop it up, let's just go. That'd be great, but I can't. It's not realistic. So, got to bring that DSMB with you. It can be hard to see things when you're exploring. We all pretend that we're all super responsible divers who would never surface 800 meters away from the boat, but it happens. And in this visibility, you may not even know you're 800 meters away. I mean, 800 meters might be an exaggeration a lot of the time, But that's not the point. The point is, every single day, somewhere, there is current and there is waves, and someone might struggle to get back to the boat. And that's just reality. So if you don't want to be stuck in the ocean, and I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, I have seen boat captains whispering to each other, hey man, I got to go back out there. I left somebody. Don't be that guy. And if you are that guy, help him find you. All right? Mexico can be dangerous. Number 8, if you get nitrox certified, and you think the course is nothing but math, and you don't get it, the one thing that you take away really should be max operating depth. Again, I'm not discounting all the rules of diving with enriched air. I am not telling you to ignore any safety factors, but what I am telling you, if you take away one thing, it's take away your max operating depth. People will help you every time you fill a tank. People will give you guidance when you rent a tank, and they will say, hey, this is where you fill out on the log, this is what you're testing, this is what it reads. Don't let them lie to you about your actual oxygen reading. When they put that oxygen reader on there and tell you how much oxygen you have, a lot of them will go, oh no, it's going over, so we're just going to yank this thing off the tank. But to get an accurate reading on your O2 should translate to your actual maximum operating depth, and you don't want to go below that depth, okay? Be vigilant that you do not go beneath that depth. Next up, number 9. Many people will dive 1 or 2 times a year, and they will be claiming how they dove for 10 years. But every time that they get in the water, they feel a little nervous and a little scared. The more you dive, the more comfortable you will be. Dive more often, and you will become a better, safer diver. You will experience minor issues that will give you the experience to solve those issues, and in turn, bigger issues down the line will be easier to resolve. I say this all the time. For you to be a better diver, you have to dive. No amount of YouTube videos, reading books, or trying to figure it out on your own from shore will help you. I find that people really become good divers around dive number 50, give or take. And that's when you're going to learn the lessons. That's where you've had a few things to deal with. That's where you've been nervous. That's where you've seen your first shipwreck, and you've maybe seen a few wild animals underwater. But this is where people really become themselves and become good divers around 50, in my humble opinion. Number 10. Many people do not get their gear serviced because, frankly, it's expensive. Learn a thing or two about evaluating your own gear, not just what it looks like on the outside, but what it looks like on the inside. For example, I like to dive titanium, not because it's non-expensive, but because it's non-corrosive. It's pretty important to have gear that will stand up to what you're going to try to do. There are people who will die on the sword of my low quality gear is just the best ever. My regulators only cost me $75 brand new, and now I can dive anywhere you can dive because a regulator is a regulator. It's just not true, people. The truth is, the big difference between cheap gear and expensive gear is usually the quality of the materials and how well they hold up against salt water. So copper is going to be not very good. Then you got brass, you got aluminum, you got steels, and you got titanium, different levels of steel. The higher the quality of the material, the more resistant it is to salt water typically. And you'll find that also in your knives as well. But those are the more expensive they are, the more they hold up. There's a reason why titanium stuff costs so much more. But you're going to pay less in the long run. buy once, cry once, right? It really does happen that the exterior looks phenomenal and the inside looks atrocious. Even if you aren't going to pay for service, have it looked at anyway. I'm telling you, it's worth your time to just have a look. Okay? The dive shop is always going to tell you that you need to service your gear. They can't handle the liability of you going out and doing something and then your mom or your wife or your kids saying, well, the guy at the dive shop said not to worry about it. You have to do it, okay? But if you don't do it, not everyone does, at least have it looked at. If you find out that he can take it apart and just put it in a hydrosonic cleaner, I'm not recommending this. Or if he can take it apart and just replace some O-rings with some he's got in stock, do it. Okay? Do not blame me for you not doing your service, but at least do the bare minimum. Okay? Have it looked at. At least know if it's going to probably break before you get in the water. All right? Last up, bonus tip. Don't touch the red and orange coral. It's bad for you. All right, weirdos. Go out and have fun diving, and I'll see you on the next installment.